Yeah, and also looking at that definition of addiction. Okay, if we say an addiction is any compulsive behavior that is bringing problems in your life. Yes, this compulsive drinking was giving problems giving me problems. And then if you look at the beeps, that an addiction is an attachment to a behavior, emotion, or events, or people, or substances in an attempt to regulate emotion. And that is either to decrease pain or to increase joy. Okay? That's what you're trying to do here when you're trying to regulate emotion. You're trying to decrease pain or increase joy. And joy is not happiness. It's different from happiness, by the way. So joy means someone is glad to be with me. That's what you'll be looking for. Someone is glad to be with me. Remember being put in the shelf? What do you think I was thinking was there? And before that, before being put in the shelf, by the way, my mom was thinking of having an abortion. She did not attempt to have an abortion. She was just thinking about it. And science says, whatever the mother feels, that unborn child is going to feel as well. What do you think I felt? I felt fear. Someone is trying to kill me, okay? Even though I can't see them. I can't hear stuff like that. She's afraid because her dad had died and this guy already has a girlfriend. She has this fear. Therefore, I felt fear. So because of that, I had this chronic fear where I have this prolonged fear at the very first days or first months of her being conceived in my mother's womb. Okay. Anyway, so now you're trying to help Brian. You are the ALICT leader. You're trying to help Brian. How do you help Brian? So you come up and your one comes and says, hey, we've got Brian here having problems. So please, ALICT 2017, let's help Brian. What are you going to do? Demon of alcohol addiction, get out of Brian right now. Yes, you can do that. It does work 5% of the times. Okay. Or another way of doing it is sit down with Brian and say, hey Brian, what's going on with you? Brian, what happened in the first 12 years of your life? Those first 12 years, that's where a lot of the trauma happens with people, and that's where a lot of these things happen, these abuses. So that's where these abuses happen, and also these emotions develop. Okay? We do feel the emotions throughout life, but then, I'm talking about the base of, Brian is chilling here. I'm relaxed right now, but I'm anxious as I'm relaxed. So anxiety is up even though I'm relaxed. So this over here of Brian came right here, first 12 years of life. Okay, so it's also it's an emotion. Anxiety is an emotion, but it became like, because it was chronic, it was felt for a long time without being addressed. Then it becomes chronic. It becomes like a base. When I'm relaxed, then I am. Okay, you've probably seen people who have struggled with depression. They get antidepressants, the medication, but they still find ways of getting depressed. Again, most of those things is because of things that are not addressed over here. Anyway, we're back to you. Johan says you need to help Brian. Brian is having porn addiction, for example, or Brian is having alcohol addiction. What are you going to pray for me? Yes, please do pray for me. Prayer works. Okay. Remember those models again. We've got a disease model. So Brian's got a mental health condition. So therefore, we can give him medication so that he gets better. You could actually do that. It works. You can use the biopsychosocial model, which says Brian is having these biological, the physical, the psychological, and social problems. So let's address it that way. Which way is the best one? Well, that's how I then decided to go and take a training in recovery coaching. Because I'm not advocating for recovery coaching, by the way. There are a lot of people who are doing coaching and they are effective. So what a recovery coaching does, what I do now is I take all of those models, whatever tool I can use, every model out there, I take it as a tool. So it's a tool that can be used to fix stuff, to take care of stuff. Okay? The disease model, I think, is a good model. Therefore, I'm going to take it. Okay? Because the brain actually has changed structure. Because there's some chemicals in your brain chemicals, that are firing off, or I'm having a flood. So my brain is producing cortisol, which is a chemical that comes when you're stressed. So my brain is firing off stress. Why is that happening? Or my brain is not producing enough serotonin, another brain chemical that helps to calm down, to sleep, to relax. So my brain maybe is not producing that because, again, when I was in my mom's womb, I was afraid and anxious. Okay, and then I am born. I'm being put in the shelf again, in the wardrobe again. Anger, anxiety are coming in place. And then I'm taken to my grandmother's place. Again, she takes me in the morning. She puts me under the tree. She thinks I'm a good baby because I don't cry. Again, abandonment issues. Okay? So how do you help Brian? Yeah, the best, there's a guy named Johan Hari. He's a British journalist. He came up with this statement that says, addiction, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. And for sure, I've also seen it over the years where the best way to help someone with an addiction, number one, is they need connection. Not just with you, but they need to also connect with themselves, number one, and then connect with other people. The more you do that, that's how there's a model of treatment called the therapeutic communities. It's just a community of people. A lot of churches uses that one. Community of people come and we are all connecting as in a non-judgmental conversations, and not, the addicted guys go sit on the corner over there, the pastor is coming to treat you there. No, none of that stuff. Okay, so the opposite of addiction is connection. That actually works much, much better. People like to come to me for to get help because I was addicted to stuff. But I'll just have to tell you that it's not me having an addiction in the past has no play in when I'm helping someone else. Okay, it's just people trust me more because when they trust me, they open up, and then it's easier for us to connect. But it's got nothing to do with my skills. Okay, it's just like giving birth. As a woman, if a woman gives birth, it doesn't make her a midwife. It doesn't make you a person who is good to help people give birth because you've gave birth. Same thing. Because I was addicted doesn't mean I'm going to be good with treating people who have addictions. Okay, I could be the worst person with addictions. But the training I had also, then the trainings I've had also helped in understanding how to work with people, how to address people. And so the very worst type of treatment is where I come and I tell you that I want to fix your problems. You've got problems with addiction, I'm going to fix it for you. It simply doesn't work. Well, it does work for some people, but the effectiveness is somewhere less than 5%. Okay, so I think I am going to be done with that statement now. Yeah, which one is the best model? It's the one you use. I combine a lot of stuff. But as time goes on, you will see people who say, they use the Minnesota model. It's the most popular one. And therefore, they think all the other models are bad. Okay? And then you're going to see a recovery coach that says, I'm a recovery coach. If you're not doing what I'm doing, then what you're doing is bad. There's no such thing. Nobody has 100% treatment. When I help people, it's not 100%. Some people are going to relapse. And then therefore I follow up and get them back again. So please do answer those questions in your group, and then we'll meet after you're done, and then we'll have like a live Q&A. Again, my name is Brian Mulipah. It was good hanging around with you on this video. Have a good day. So up next now, one day I'm grade 6, I'm around 11 years old, they're going on 12 maybe, grade 6 in primary school. One guy, my friend, comes and says, guys, we are going to be adults very soon. We're going to be in secondary school. Let's go and be naughty for the very last time, because when we're adults, we don't want to be stupid. We don't want to be like these guys, the teenage guys. We're going to be the cool ones who don't do dumb stuff. Let's go smoking. So we go and buy some cigarettes for ourselves, and we're smoking And it feels nice. We're just having fun, okay? And then it happened, we'll just do it over the weekend, and not a big deal. Grade 7, yeah, we smoke here and there. Form 1, I don't think I even smoked at all in Form 1 because of the school I was going to. I was pretty chilled. And then in Form 2, I'm 14 years old. I don't know what you call it in your country. We call it Form 2. Some people call it grade 9, I think. Yeah, it's grade 9 in some countries. So in Form 2, to cut a long story short, I'm chilling. I'm at a boarding school now, and I'm hanging around with a friend. Okay, he's alive. He gave me permission to tell his name. His name is George. So George comes to me and says, "Brian, how many are you in your family?" I gave him the number, was 6. Okay, how many of you are in boarding schools? I said, "I'm the only one in boarding schools." He says, "Yeah, I know you're the only one in boarding schools. You know why you're in a boarding school, Brian?" And I say, why is that? He says, "Because you're the firstborn. I'm a firstborn. I've got brothers and sisters who are younger than me. They are not in boarding school, okay? You are in boarding school. You see so and so," and then he was naming the guys in our classroom. Everyone, he's a firstborn, a boarding school. He's got brothers and sisters. They are not in boarding school. We are here because we are the firstborns. We have mistakes. Our fathers and mothers were just having fun. Like my mom and my dad are having fun, and then she gets pregnant. So we are inconveniences. You are an inconvenience. I'm an inconvenience to my dad. So therefore, he doesn't like me. He's trying to get rid of me. So he's sending me to a boarding school. So this is George's theory, okay? And then I said, okay, it made sense. I'm 14 years old, so it makes sense, okay? He says, "You know what? To not think of all of this stuff, I just smoke weed. And then I forget stuff, and I'm relaxed." And I said, "No, I don't smoke weed." He says, "Oh, why don't you smoke weed?" "Oh, they lied to you. They told you if you smoke weed, you're going to go mad." Oh, I've got news for you, my friend. You won't go mad and infect everyone. Every adult that you see smokes weed, including your dad. He smokes weed. Okay, let's go smoke. So we go out in the bush, me and George. He rolls out we call it a blunt, by the way. He rolls out his blunt, and then that was my first time to smoke marijuana. And then he smokes, and he gives me some, and then the first time I smoked marijuana, it tasted horrible. I didn't like the taste, I liked the type of cigarettes I was smoking, but marijuana didn't taste good. So we did it 2 days consecutive, and then we started doing it every weekend, okay? This is in boarding school. And then I came back for the school holidays from school. And then I met another guy. He's now late. He used to smoke marijuana. He had a better grade of marijuana. There are different grades. So he was like 10 years older than me. So he comes, "Hey, Mr. Brian, how are you doing?" And then he's rolling his marijuana, and then he smokes, and then have you smoked marijuana? You need to smoke marijuana. He was like 24 and I was 14. So he gave me some, and then I smoked it, and this one felt so good. Now I started smoking regularly, like almost every day during the school holidays. When I go back to school, I smoke with George. It was now more than just weekends, all right? And also with alcohol, I also started drinking. I had started drinking like just here and there, but at age 14, I now started drinking more, regularly. Okay. And so life went on, and then I went up to Form 4, finished school. I don't know what grade that is. And now I have more time to my hands because I didn't proceed with education. I had more time to my hands, which meant I was now drinking more, smoking more. Okay. So I'm smoking more, drinking more. And then this is from age 14. And then around age 18, around age 19 rather. Age 19 was the first time something happened back home, and I decided, you know what, this behavior, I don't like what's happening to me. I don't like what I'm doing to other people, because my dad was always on my case. He's always shouting at me. My mom, I would hear my mom praying every day. I wouldn't hear what she's praying, the words she's saying, but I'll hear, no, God, no, Jesus, Brian, Jesus, Brian, in the name of Jesus, Brian. And why is this woman praying? I'm only smoking weed. I'm not killing people. I'm not robbing anyone. So you know what? I need to stop drinking, stop smoking, stop this rubbish. So I decided, I'm done. The next morning, I'm craving. I need to drink. I need to smoke. I need to get, I just got out and I went and I drank. And then I told myself, I am done. Today's the last one. The more I tried, the more cravings I had. So then I discovered, okay, I now have a big problem. The more I'm trying to stop drinking and smoking, the more I'm actually going to stop, the more I'm actually drinking and smoking. So I then discovered, oh, I actually might have an addiction. Okay, how do I help myself? I didn't know of any rehabs. I didn't even know where to go to get help. Okay, this is in the 90s, before some of you guys here were born, right? Yeah, so I tried, and my mom, she would call in, people from a church. She was going to church, so she'd call people from church and say, please come talk to my son, come pray for him. And people would come to my house and they would lay hands and they would pray for me. God, please make Brian stop drinking this beer. And I would get up from there after they're done. So thank you so much for praying for me. I'll go to the bar and I'll already start drinking. Okay. I was also I started selling marijuana at age 18. And because I had a lot of the marijuana, I always had like more than a kg of marijuana, I smoked more. Okay. So the withdrawal symptoms show up. I need to drink again and stuff like that. So, yeah. Question. You heard my story about being put in the wardrobe and stuff like that. And then, how I started drinking, it was also because of access. I had easier access to marijuana and alcohol, and of course cigarettes. They're the most widely used. Okay. Marijuana, why was alcohol good for me? Like, why was it so fast for me to get addicted to alcohol? And the answer to that is because alcohol is a depressant. Okay, so alcohol is a depressant. It slows down communication between your brain and your body. So it slows down. Anxiety puts you up. So anxiety pushes up things up, but alcohol pushes them down. Anger, I had a lot of anger issues. They push up. Anger is like, it's a stimulant. So it pushes you up. Yeah, you wake up, you're more alert when you're angry or you're anxious, and or you're just mad, right? But alcohol takes good care of that. Therefore, if you take alcohol, when I was taking alcohol, I was actually regulating my emotions. Okay, so alcohol is a depressant, so I'm regulating the anger. It actually goes down. Now I feel normal. Okay. The prayer, it does work. If you pray for me to get a miracle, you have to pray for a miracle because you're dealing with brain chemicals. You pray for me, God, don't get angry. I don't know. It actually needs treatment, I think. I think treatment actually works much better than that. So now, let me reintroduce myself. So I said my name is Brian Mulipah. I was born here in Zimbabwe. This is where I am right now. And so when I was born, actually, my mom got pregnant when she was 17. She said she was 16, but I think she was 17. Okay, so she said she got pregnant when she was 16 and then gave birth when she was 17. Okay, so but what actually happened then was, so she had a boyfriend and then she gets pregnant. She's 16-year-old. She got pregnant in December, and then in January her dad died. Okay, so they're still talking with this guy, with the boyfriend. She tells the boyfriend, "Hey, I'm pregnant." And the boyfriend says, "You pregnant? Oh, I'm so sorry. You're pregnant. I already have a girlfriend." Okay, so anyway, let me go call the girlfriend and then you guys can talk it out. So, and the guy leaves the house. He goes and then he calls his girlfriend. His girlfriend comes into the house, and then he tells the girl, "Hey, this young girl here, she was tiny. She was 16 and small, right? And the girlfriend was she had some weight, okay? And back then in Zimbabwe, in most places in Africa, rather, the bigger you are, the more beautiful you are. The tinier you are, the uglier you are. And my mom was tiny, okay? So this guy says, this girl says she's pregnant. And the big girl, the original girl says, "What? You got this little thing pregnant, leaving all of this type of thing. I'm breaking up with you." And then she left. Okay. And then this guy, he's my dad, actually, was my dad. So my dad then says to my mom, "Okay, it's okay. I'm going to get married to you." So this happened over a long period of time. But between him saying, I'm going to marry you, and her getting pregnant, she was thinking of an abortion. Oh, should I have an abortion now? My dad has died. Who's going to take care of me? You know those things. So she thought of having an abortion, and then she says, she then told me the story. She says, okay, I wanted to have an abortion, but then I was praying, God, what do I do? And then one day, God came into her dreams, okay? And then, so God visited her and says, hey, don't worry, my child, don't have an abortion. You're going to have a baby boy, and his name is going to be Brian. So I'm the Brian she was pregnant with me, okay? So next, she gives birth, and my dad was a police officer, so he was living in a police camp. So she gives birth, and they're living together in the police camp. So now, they were married culturally and not married legally, like at the court of law. So because of that, they were not allowed to live together, because my dad was living in a police camp. In the police camp, he was living at what they call the single quarters. These are the places where the single people live. So they're living together there. So the inspectors would come in and inspect and say, hey, just check if people have like wives there, because it was not allowed. So my mom, I was already born then. So whenever she saw the inspector come in, she would take me, put me in the wardrobe, and then lock the door. You know the wardrobe, that cabinet you put your clothes in? She put me on the top shelf, lock the door, sit on the key. So the inspector comes in, and then, hey, what are you doing here? I say, I'm waiting for my brother. Okay. Now she says I was a fat baby. That's how she described me. So she put me on the top shelf. Because I was a fat baby, I was heavy. I would break the shelves. So I would fall from the top shelf and then fall down in this wardrobe. And then the inspector would ask, oh, what's in there? And then she would say, I don't know. Where's the key? I don't know. I'm just here. I'm waiting for my brother. But she's sitting on the key. And then the inspector would eventually leave. Now my mom says I was a good baby because I would fall every time the inspector comes in. And then my mom says I was a good baby because I never cried each time I fell from the top shelf to the bottom shelf. Okay? So the last part of that story is I'm just forwarding for understanding only. Then I am born. Then she gives birth. Oh, sorry, I'm already born. That's why she's putting me in the shelf. And then she gets pregnant again with my sister. Soon after that, she gets pregnant the same time. And then I was also growing and stuff like that. So they decided, let's send her to my grandparents. So they sent me to my dad's side, to my grandparents. And I lived there from around age 1 there until I was 6. Okay. Now the whole time, age 1 to age 6, I never saw my parents. My grandmother was my mother. My mom says she did come to visit. So she came to visit once, and then I was sitting with my grandmother, right next to my grandmother, and I was eating, an egg. So I was eating an egg that has been half-boiled, parboiled, the egg of a chicken, rather. So it's half-boiled, and it has the baby chicken inside. Okay, and that's what I was eating, and so it broke my mom's heart. And while I was sitting there, my grandmother would pinch me. When they pinch you on the side, on the ribs, it's so painful. But my mom says I was sitting there eating this egg that has a chicken side, and I never looked up at her. She was sitting right there, like opposite me, but I never lifted up my hand. And she was talking to me, are you okay, Brian? And I was crying because my grandmother was pinching me and just eating. So my mom just thought, you know what, it's better I don't visit, because if I visit, my child is going to get hurt. They didn't like each other with my grandmother. So because of that, my grandmother would, I'm going to spit in your face. What are you going to do about it? Sorry, I'm leaking. So then she stopped visiting, okay? And so I grew up there from age 1 until I was 6, ready for grade 1 to go to school for the first year of primary school. Okay, and yeah, that's the end of it. But when I was an adult, after my dad had died, I think it was 2011, I went back to my grandmother's place, and I asked her, Grandma, what kind of baby was I when I was living with you here? And then she looked up and said, it's been a long time, But yes, I remember you were a good baby. Okay? Because this is what I did when you were living with us here. I would wake up in the morning and take you, and I'll get you sitting under the mango tree. We have a mango tree that sits like in the middle of the yard. So you just go and place me under this mango tree, and I would just sit there. I could already crawl, but I would not move. I would not cry. I would just sit there. Okay, so she would go and then she would work, she'd do her stuff, and me, I'm just sitting there facing west. She would make me face, where the sun sets, so that the sun doesn't get into my eyes, type of thing. So, and then she says, you never cried, you just sat there, you never troubled anyone, you just sat there quietly, you are a good baby, So, yeah, so that's where I'm coming from, okay? So, if you look back again on this tree here, tree of addiction, okay, we have what we call the soil of addiction. So the soil of addiction, which represents the environment I grew up in, the environment a person grows up in, okay? So in the soil, there are these what we call abuses. This is physical abuse. We've got this spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, and emotional abuse. And the definition of abuse in this case is anything that is less than care that is done to a child. Okay, that's in a definition of abuse. Anything less than care done to a child. So we've got this one here, physical abuse. So a lot of us, when we see physical abuse, we think someone is being shoved, beaten up, bad, horrible things are happening to them, which is also, yes, physical abuse. And then we've got the other side where a person is not touched, just lack of touch. We've got spiritual abuse, which represents, just being told punitive messages about spirituality, like God hates you because you're a sinner. You've got sexual abuse. This involves rape. And then on the other side of that is also just not being taught sexuality. And then emotional stuff, being scolded. You're ugly. You are this and that. Okay. Question. What emotions do you think I felt when I was being put in the shelf? I was only one. Well, I was actually less than one. I was from 1 month old until, 1 year old being put in the shelf. I did have emotions already, by the way. What emotions do you think I felt? So these are the emotions right here. Okay? Okay? So I'm in the dark, top shelf, I fall down, I don't cry. Do you think I enjoyed it? Okay? So what emotion did I feel? I think I had a lot of fear when I was being put in the wardrobe. I had also had a lot of anger. Okay? Because those are the two emotions I know I had when I was a child, like grade 1. I had a lot of anger issues. I had a lot of fear and anxiety. Well, I am now an adult, but if you look at my fingers, can you see my fingers? Okay. I don't have I do have nails, but I don't have nails. And that's because when I'm relaxed, there's nothing, I'm not worried about anything. I'm actually relaxed. I am going... So when I'm relaxed, my anxiety is over here, okay? Those are some of the emotions. And then anger. I used to fight a lot when I was a baby. Because I had a lot of fear. So, because fear and anger are cousins. Because if I'm afraid of something, I'm going to want to defend myself. And that's what anger does. You then have to attack. Okay. And then, so there's that situation I described about myself, and then we've got the emotions. So I had a lot of anger, fear, anxiety, and shame. Shame is an attack on the self. So shame is an emotion that says something wrong with me. Okay. So blame says I did something wrong. Shame says I am wrong. Okay. So and then shame, if you see on this tree again, shame is thicker. It's thicker than the other roots, right? And that's because at the base of all addiction, you've got shame. You've got this emotion that says, I am not enough. Something wrong with me. Anyways, let's go now to the addictions. So up next is what I call the tree of addiction. Okay, by the way, I did not make up this paper here. It comes from the Addictive Behavior Counseling School from YWAM. That's Youth with a Mission. That's who I work with when I am outside Zimbabwe, normally, or a lot of the times. So this is what we call the tree of addiction. The tree of addiction has the roots. We can see these are it has the soil of addiction. The soil represents the environment that the person grows up in. So you've got the soil, and then you've got the roots. These are the roots here. You see, this one is shame, and then we've got, these different emotions that are listed here. And then we also have hereditary factors. So you've got the soil of addiction, we've got the roots of addiction, and then we've got the branches of addiction. So the branches represent the actual acting out, what drugs are being used. Okay, so we've got these different addictive behaviors. We've got work addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, gambling. There's a lot of them. I don't know which one is yours. So mine was alcohol addiction, and I was also on the drug addiction because I was taking diazepam. And we also have, alcohol is also a drug, by the way, and then the diazepam and marijuana. Okay, I know a lot of people out there like to say marijuana is a herb, let's just go smoke it. Yeah, it's a herb, which is true. It is a herb, it can be viewed as a herb. Let me just say something on marijuana real quick, because I know a lot of guys like smoking marijuana. So marijuana has these two very interesting chemicals, okay? One is, we call it CBD, and the other one is called THC, if you've heard of CBD oil. So the CBD is the good stuff, it's the good part of marijuana. It actually is prescribed to people like with bipolar, some people with chronic pain are also given that, some people with, it helps to cool down, soothe pain and, bipolar, anxiety issues, depression issues, okay? So that's CBD. But then we also have THC. So THC is the one that gets you high. So when someone is smoking and then, I'm feeling high today, that's the THC. That's the chemical that gets you high. Okay. So I used to sell marijuana, by the way, and I was smoking it. So what do you think? What is the reason of smoking marijuana? When I was smoking marijuana, I was not looking for CBD. I didn't have bipolar issues. I didn't even know there was a thing called bipolar. I wanted to get high. Okay, like most people are smoking to get high. They're smoking because they're looking for the THC. Okay, so just to clear things out there. Okay, let's move on. And by the way, I think the best way of taking this class today is, don't take it for someone else. So don't be thinking, my cousin or my brother or my sister is the one who might be addicted. So let me listen for that person. I think it's actually best if you listen for yourself. How does this relate to you? How are you relating to this lesson? Okay, let's now dive into it. So when a person comes to me and they're saying they might have an addiction, they have an addiction, or it's usually parents who bring their children. It could be a 70-year-old mother. She brings her 40-year-old child. It's still her child, even though he's 40, right? So she brings this person, and so this is what I use to first check where they are on the addiction. Because again, people are not the same. People are not on the same level of addiction. In fact, they say addiction exists on a spectrum. Okay, so spectrum means there's some people like on the green, some people are on the yellow, and some people are on the red. So on the green, these are people who might be just abusing substances. I'll show you the paper again. I just lifted up here. And then on the yellow, these are people who are having problems. And then the red is people who are chronically addicted. Okay, so if a person comes in, or if you have an addiction, so if I was talking to you right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm gonna use this paper here. Please forget about the numbers, okay? The numbers belong to America. So some people are here on the green. Okay, right here. So green, as you see, it says people abusing. So these are people who are abusing substances. They are not necessarily addicted. They are abusing. So in some cases, a mother can bring their child here and say, hey, I think my son is addicted to marijuana because she caught her 14-year-old boy smoking marijuana, and then she panics and says, he's abusing. And then some people are just here on the green. Okay, they are abusing. With this person, if you have 5 to 10 minute conversation, they may actually just stop abusing the substances altogether. Okay, they're not addicted, they can stop anytime. Okay, 10-minute conversation, they are okay, they're done. Okay, This is the green. And then you've got a bunch of people here. Most people come here are on the yellow right here. And these are people who have relationship problems because of the drugging and the drinking and other addictive behaviors, like overeating, eating disorders, like prostitution, gambling. Okay, those are addictive behaviors. So we've got a lot. So they've got relationship problems, financial problems, health problems. They might not have problems like health problems, that they have problems. Okay, and then we've got people who are down here on the red. These are people who are chronically addicted. So the people on the red, this guy here, if it's alcohol, when they wake up in the morning, they need to drink first before they can function. Okay, they can't function without using the substances. Okay, whatever happens, they have to use the substances. Okay, now they are there. There's a bunch of them. There's a lot of them, but they're the least number of people who are here. Most people who are here are the homeless people. They live in the streets and stuff like that. Okay, people from homes, they are there, but they're very, very few. Okay, I have met a few. I think since 2009, when I started practicing, like full-time practicing, since 2009, I've met around six of them. I've met the sixth person last week. This is 2024, okay? Since 2009, I met person number 6 last week, who is here on the red. And I'm talking only of the people who are coming from homes, people who have family at home. People in the streets, living in the streets, yes, a lot of them are here. Okay, so I'm not talking about that population. I'm talking about people who are coming from homes, people like you and me. Okay, they are there, but they are very, very few. Okay, and then the stuff you see on the other side here, this is just people in recovery who are now moving from this side of the curve to that side of the curve. Okay, so let's dive in. So this is So I try to determine where are you on this model. Maybe can you ask yourself that question, where am I? Somewhere here? Am I here? Am I down here? Okay. So that's the first cheat sheet that you can look at. And then let me show you the next paper that I also use to help people to overcome their addictions. So the best way to start this conversation is to actually then define things. Number one question is, what is an addiction? Okay, so that's the number one question I'm going to ask. So, and then the answer to that question is, well, it depends on how you are viewing addiction, or it depends on what model you are using to view addiction. Here's what I mean. There's at least 100 models. There are a bunch of models out there. The most popular model is called the disease model. Okay, I've got my cheat sheet right here. And so it comes out of a place called Minnesota in the US, which also then brings in the Minnesota model of treatment. It's from the same place. It's a place in the US. So the disease model views an addiction as a chronic mental condition. So it says addiction alters brain function and brain structure, and therefore treatment has to be ongoing. So that's how you see people just, they stopped drinking 20 years ago, and then they still say, I'm in recovery from alcohol addiction. Okay, so it means they're using the disease model. Okay, we also have the biopsychosocial model, which says addiction is influenced by the biological, psychological, and social factors. Okay, so it says, addiction is influenced by genetics as well. So treatment has to address all of those: the environment, genetics. Was your father an alcoholic? Okay, your father's alcoholic, so it's in the family, type of thing. We also have the self-medication model, which says people use those substances in an attempt to alleviate distress. Okay, and then we also have the spiritual model, which says, well, addiction means a person is having a spiritual crisis, and now they're trying to find meaning in, because of the spiritual crisis. Okay, so therefore, to address addiction, you have to do it. You've got to do spiritual practices. Okay, so there's a bunch of them there. Which one is the best model to address addiction? Well, each one has limitations. Each one is limited. For example, the most popular one is the disease model. The disease model actually when we use the Minnesota model of treatment, because that's what it uses, it's 20 to 30% effective. Okay, so the success rates are around 20 to 30%, and therefore, if you're doing like 33% per year, you are in the top 1%. You're doing great. Okay, that's the Minnesota model. We also have the spiritual model, for example. The spiritual model gets a bit complicated because it's divided into two, or into many parts. We've got the one side where if someone has an addiction, you take him to the pastor comes out and they pray for the guy. We pray against this alcohol, whatever addiction, and we cast out the demons. Get out in the name of Jesus, you demon of addiction. Okay, so that does work. It works 5% of the time. Okay, I'm not saying, please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they are not demons. They are there. Okay, but that model works 5% of the time. And then still on the spiritual model, we also have the discipleship model, which then a person goes through some discipleship for like 3 to 6 months of discipleship. That actually is way more effective than, get out in the name of Jesus. Yeah, please don't get me wrong. There are addictions. Okay, if you've got addictions, please go get some help. Okay, so again, on the disease model, which is the most popular one. So the disease model, we can find it in the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, Volume 5 of the book is for diagnosing mental health condition. So that book defines an addiction as a compulsive behavior that is characterized by, it's a behavior characterized by compulsion, this need to go and use. It's also characterized by loss of control, where the individual might decide, let me just go and drink 1 beer. And then when they go and drink 1 beer, they end up drinking 6. So there's that loss of control. Okay, cravings, this urge of wanting to use. This can be with the behavior like drinking, like taking alcohol or drugs. So the cravings are obvious. All right. And then on the other side, we've got other addictions like, sex addiction, where a person is into prostitution and stuff like that. They also have these compulsions to want to go back to, to see sex workers. And then we also have tolerance, where, at first a person maybe is getting drunk or high, maybe drunk on 1 tablet. And then at the end of maybe after 5 years, now they don't get high on 1 tablet. Now they need 10 tablets. So the body, there's tolerance where the body just needs more and more and more to get the same high. And then we also have withdrawal, where if a person goes for a long time, a prolonged period of time without using stuff, the body goes into withdrawal. Withdrawal just means that the drugs are now leaving the body, so the person feels the withdrawal symptoms. Okay. Now, with all of this, my favorite, or the easiest way of defining an addiction is any compulsive behavior that is causing problems in your life. That's the simplest way that I can understand addictions. So this came from a guy named Dr. Dov Smith. He's a psychiatrist from the US. He actually led my training, my addiction counseling training. He was one of our leaders. It's like an ALICT program that we did. Okay. And then there's also what they call the beeps. It's another way of defining an addiction. So beeps it says an addiction is when an individual attaches to a behavior or emotions or environment or people or substances in an attempt to regulate emotion. So that's another definition of an addiction. So these are way different addictions, but the simple one is just any compulsive behavior that is causing problems in your life. All right. Hello, ALICT class of 2024. My name is Brian Mulipah from class of 2017, and I'm glad to be here. And I'm here to just speak on understanding addictions, and most importantly, how you can understand and possibly help people that you're leading, and understand yourself if you're struggling with addiction. Okay, and I'm coming from 2 different angles. So first angle, I'm coming in as a professional. I'm an addiction counselor. I'm a certified addiction counselor, certified addiction professional, certified addiction specialist, certified professional recovery coach. And it looks like a big deal when I say those things, right? But no, it's not a big deal. It's just different trainings that help you to view addiction in a special way, and then address addiction. So it's just different ways of viewing and treating addiction and addressing addiction. Okay, so those are the angles I'm coming from. All right, so as we get started, I just want to pose some questions that you're gonna, at the end of this video, you're gonna divide into groups, and then you're gonna discuss some stuff, and then we'll take it up from there. Okay, so these are the 3 questions that you're gonna have to answer at the end of the video. You get understanding through the video. Okay, so the first question is, what is an addiction, and what is the best way to treat an addiction? Okay, and the second question is, what addictions do you have? Sorry, I'm looking down to my cheat sheet here. What addictions do you have? And the last part is, what are advantages of having an addiction? Okay, so those are the 3 questions, and yeah, you will answer them at the end of this video.